In this video, we are going to cover the top 10 things to see in Seattle. My name is Christian Harris. I am the team leader of Seatown Real Estate Team here in Seattle. If you want to know more about living your best life in Seattle, make sure to subscribe so that you get notified every week when we come out with a new video. Let's jump into this. So today I have on one of my team members, Haley, who has lived here in Seattle only a few years. And so her freshness and vividness of Seattle and all the wonders that it has is a little more recent than mine. So I thought it'd be fun to have her on, not to mention she has this fun hat on, which I don't have. So that's awesome. So we're just going to go over kind of the top 10, things that we think are the most awesome attractions to see, whether you live here in Seattle or you're just visiting. Haley, what's the first one we came up with? Number one.
So my first memory of traveling to Seattle was going to Pike's Place Market. And I actually am wearing the ring that I bought 2016 when I first drove out. So that was just when I was visiting, and then I moved in 2019, so 3 years later. And Pike's Place Market is this magical place where you can buy pretty much anything, and there's all different floors and shops, all independently owned, and it has a really great history too, which I didn't know until talking with you about it. So you want to share that?
Yeah. Well, Pike Place is obviously a big tourist attraction. It's known for, the fish market where they throw the fish, which is always, a great attraction. Then obviously the original Starbucks is still down there. It's pretty amazing seeing the line out the door when you're walking by, for this regular old cup of Starbucks coffee, get anywhere else. But, then you could say, hey, I've been to the original Starbucks in Pike Place. So what's some of the history you found out while researching?
So about 50 years ago plus, the council unanimously approved a plan for the urban renewal of the market. They were planning to sort of not do anything with it anymore and turn it into high-rise apartments and parking, which I am so glad they decided to keep this attraction. So many people come off the ferry boats, and it's a fun meeting place when I have guests to have them come and see the area as well. So
yeah, no, it's a fun year-round farmers market. There's amazing vendors and some great restaurants. It's like Matt's in the Market, and the Triple Door things down there. A whole bunch of really cool stuff. Was there anything else we wanted to mention about the farmers market before we move on to number two?
Yeah, so it was actually founded in 1907, which is it's one of the oldest and largest continuously operating markets in the United States. And so it was brought to life by hundreds of farmers, crafters, small businesses, and residents. And when I was looking at the old pictures, I actually saved a few because they were so beautiful, like people bringing their horses and carriages. And so there's so much history. There's cobble streets still, and you can find something to eat from all over the world. So definitely worth checking out.
Yeah.
And don't forget the gum wall. That is disgusting and also quite cool.
It's memorable. It's something to check out. So yeah, no, the cobblestone streets, they're still there. The original are pretty cool. All the cool old rich brick architecture, still original. But yeah, the gum wall. They've got the Improv Theater there. Have you ever been there?
I haven't been there, but I was just going to mention, don't forget Showbox Theater. That when I moved was about to get torn down as well. Mm-hmm. And I bought a shirt because I went to a show there for the first time, and I could not handle how beautiful the venue is. And so I'm so happy that it's become a historic landmark, and I can go to shows there whenever I want. And that's right by Pike Place Market, but yeah, great venue.
Yeah, right around the corner on First. I've seen some great shows there, so I'm glad that's sticking around. It's iconic.
Yeah. Same.
Number two, cool. The Seattle
Number
waterfront.
So we're not moving far for this one. We're just going to go down the street a bit to the waterfront, and that's where the Ferris wheel is. I had no idea that this is the largest Ferris wheel, west of Vegas. So it's the largest one on the West Coast, standing 175 feet tall. And it has a unique advantage because it actually hangs over the water 40 feet. So you can actually see down into Elliott Bay, which was super cool. And then each of the gondolas actually hold 8 people, which blows my mind that 8 people can hang from like one of those little things. So
Yeah, the thing's massive, and it's enclosed, and so it's temperature controlled and everything. I think they actually have special events where you like serve dinner there and stuff, so you can like eat in the gondola.
yeah, I was reading that you can go and grab champagne, and there's some that have like clear bottoms, so you can see the ocean, which I think is also pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, and the sound.
Obviously when that was installed, changed the face of the waterfront and the skyline of Seattle, and it's relatively new. It's what, 10 years maybe. I mean, I remember when it went in. Doesn't seem like that long ago. Maybe it's been longer, but definitely one of the new additions to the waterfront. Most of the waterfront is very original, dating back to Pike Place era. So there's still some really cool shops and seafood and whatnot, all along the waterfront. So it's worth going to the different piers.
Yeah, Pier 59, I think, is the one that they call that area. And that also includes the aquarium, which I haven't been to yet, but I've heard so many amazing things. I'm honestly waiting for my little cousins to come and visit so it can be like exciting with them.
Yeah.
Have you been?
I have. It's been a while. I mean, it's definitely on the smaller side, I mean, like compared to like San Diego Aquarium or something, but it's cool. They've got, little waiting pool area where you can like touch the, sea anemones and all that kind of stuff, and starfish.
I love that. Cool. The other part that I wanted to share about sort of the waterfront was Olympic Sculpture Park. I feel like that this isn't really on a lot of lists, and it's a little bit further down, away from the waterfront, like Ferris wheel, but it still is like right on the water. And I remember one of my yoga students said that there was a seal on the water, like waiting. And so there's ways to see wildlife from there often, and a lot of different like fine art pieces. My dad does ornamental ironwork, so I really get into like that kind of art. And I feel like they have kind of that funky stuff over there. So worth checking out.
Yeah, for sure. Well, they're actually building a new park there. I don't know if it's going to be like part of the Seattle Arts, walk there. Because I think Waterfront Park is that what they call it? There's a new one they're building like right across the street. It's supposed to like, I don't know. It's in the works right now. It's just a big sand pit, but building a new one there.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Awesome. And we can go to number 3 right away, which is quite close to Olympic Sculpture Park in that Belltown area, the Space Needle, and then the Seattle Center, which I am so obsessed with the Space Needle. I remember moving here and I did not think that I would ever go up it or like enjoy it. And I took my dad when he came to visit, and it was so special watching the sunset. You can have a glass of wine up there and just kind of hang out. Super cool. They've done a lot of kind of building on it to make it even more impressive. So definitely worth the $40, which just seems a lot for an elevator ride.
Yeah. Well, and I'll give you a pro tip, because it's $40 to go up to the observation deck.
Mm-hmm.
If you just eat dinner there, you get the observation deck for free. So
okay.
Yeah, dinner's more expensive, but you get a nice meal with it too. So, and then the restaurant portion actually has the newest installation is glass floors. So
yeah,
if you're afraid of heights, probably wouldn't recommend it, but it's pretty cool. And observation deck is cool too because it's open air. You've got like a big chain link fence, but you get the wind whipping through your hair 600 feet up in the air. So
yes.
Yeah, and then because the Space Needle is in Seattle Center, right? Which with that you've got Mopop, you've got the Science Center. It's where they do folk life and Bumbershoot and have all these outdoor concerts and festivals throughout the year. Is there anything you want to share, kind of about that?
The other part was the Chihuly Garden of Glass. That was also incredibly impressive. When I first moved, I had a lot of friends that were in the glass world, and I didn't understand how much love and attention and hard work goes into that type of pieces. And then going to the Chihuly Garden of Glass Museum was mind-blowing. Like having all of the different shapes and flowers and installations, and they have a little garden that you can walk outside that has tons of pieces, is really inspiring. And Dale Chihuly is actually from Tacoma, Washington. And he was born in like 1941. So super cool.
Yeah,
no, it's definitely local
artist around here. Yeah. Let's Does that cover, yeah, everything kind of Space Needle, Seattle Center,
I
Chihuly?
think the last little detail that I found on the Space Needle that was super cool in 1959 is when the idea popped up in Edward E. Carlson, who was the chief organizer of the 1962 World's Fair. And he just doodled like the Space Needle on his napkin and was convinced that that was going to be Seattle's like prominent centerpiece. And it is. It's a part of our logo. So
yeah. Well, it's fun. It's fun architecture because it was, kind of late 50s, 60s, like the vision of the future like looked very Jetsony, like nowadays it looks like mid-century, but like to them, like that was the future of what it's gonna look like.
Yeah.
Yep.
Love it.
Number 4, what do we got?
So we'll move a little south for number 4. We're going to the Smith Tower views and just sort of the different tall buildings downtown Seattle. It's so worth it seeing the sound from all the different angles. And I was looking just recently at the apartments downtown, and oh my goodness, yeah, you pay a pretty penny to have some of those views renting, but highly recommend either checking out the Smith Tower views, the observation deck, or the Columbia Tower. I think that one also has the
Columbia Tower's got, it's way taller, but it's not, I don't think the observation decks, I don't think they have like an observation deck open, but they've got like, I believe there's a Starbucks up there, and
Oh, I just know that.
Yeah, it's 80th floor or something, it's up there, but I've had coffee up there. It's pretty fun, but you can see everything because it looks over most of the skyscrapers in Seattle and over the Puget Sound. But Smith Tower is pretty cool by today's standards. It's not that big, but for a long time it was actually the tallest building west of the Mississippi because it was built in 1914. 38 stories, so that's like 480 feet ish. But it's pretty cool because its observation deck's still open and it's open air. Then there's actually like an apartment you can rent out at the top.
Yes.
How much did you say that was?
$17,000 a month. I looked right away when I moved here because I was like, I want to live there. And the windows are like super cool shapes, and I am obsessed with it. Definitely fun to look up online, just seeing like the listing photos.
Yeah,
I used to teach yoga in that building too. That was the other thing I wanted to share.
Yeah.
So yeah, lots of fun things at the Smith Tower. The elevator is probably my favorite thing about Smith Tower. There's so much woodwork involved and history, worth just walking through if you have the chance. Pioneer Square is also down there, so fun to see all the old lights and history.
A lot of history there. I know we didn't officially add this to our list, but a little bonus: if you're in Pioneer Square, check out the underground tour. It's a little touristy, but there's some different versions of it. And it shows you kind of the raucous, seedy underground of what Seattle's founding was back in the kind of after the Denny party a little bit when the gold rush was happening, and kind of what was driving the economy and stuff. It's pretty fascinating. So it goes into like the history of like Seattle burning, the Great Fire of Seattle that burnt it down to the ground in like 1880s.
Wild.
And they rebuilt on top of it. So.
All right, next on the list, Alki Beach, which is close to you. I miss Alki so much. When I first moved from the Midwest, I lived like 50 steps from Alki Beach, and I miss it every single day. That place has the best views. Like, you get the sound, you get Mount Rainier, you get the Olympics, you get the skyline, you have like 9 miles of roller skating if you're a roller skater or runner.
Yeah.
I'm a roller skater, so that's why I used to be on it every morning. So fun.
Yeah, no, it's pretty great because it wraps around from the Seattle side of Elliott Bay, so you can see the downtown skyline out to the peak, kind of the point of it, and then up out west. And so you've got the ferries coming across. You've got the western views of the Olympic Mountains and the Puget Sound. It's pretty spectacular.
You can also rent those bikes where you can like fit 5 of you in the bike and everyone can pedal. And the other thing is that if you move here, you should join, like, there's a PNW Whale Watchers group, and everyone is always like DMing or like sending posts like, oh, there's a whale in the like area, go look at it, and things like that. So those are just little things I love about Seattle, that everyone's like, look at this, look at that.
Yeah, and it's one of the, it's very popular in summer times. and it's one of the two really like sandy beaches on the Seattle side, on the Puget Sound. So you got Alki, and then you have what's the other one? North Seattle, Shell Shoal Bay, like right there.
Golden Garden.
Yes, Golden Garden.
Yeah. Golden Garden.
Golden Gardens, yep.
Favorite.
And that has sand too, so you can actually like play beach volleyball and have fires, on nice nights. But the Puget Sound is not warm.
It's
even summer times you're going to be doing a polar bear plunge, but there's some crazies out there that like swim.
Oh yeah.
Their wetsuits on or whatever, but.
Yeah, yep. Those people always amazed me.
I know. All right, so we're on to number 6, Lake Washington. What do you have to say about that?
So when I first moved here, I was so unimpressed with Lake Washington because there was so much other stuff. And I feel like my appreciation for Lake Washington has like slowly come into my like world as I've lived in Seattle, and my appreciation for just how big and wide it is and how much it holds. Like there's so many communities that live on all sides of the lake. But recently I went for a run at Seward Park, hopefully I'm saying that right. And that was impressive. Like all of the old growth trees running through the forest. It felt so good. You have like uninterrupted running space and bike path, like all the way around. It's beautiful over there. So definitely worth checking out Seward Park if you just need a break from the city. It feels like you've transported to the forest. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a beautiful park. What do you remember how long that trail is if you go the whole loop? It's like a mile or so, or 0.8 miles?
Yeah, I would say it's about a mile, maybe a little bit longer. Yeah, I would say that.
Yep. There's nice around there. So
views of Mount Rainier, originally Mount Tahoma, which I think there's a petition going around to change the name back to the Indigenous name. So interesting that that's coming up. And the lots of lakefront parks. I always see rowing teams on there, which I always love to watch. You talked about Seafair. I don't know if you want to go into that.
Yeah, Seafair every year is in that kind of area of Seward Park. So that's kind of the famous hydroplane races, and Blue Angels do an air show during that. And it's very much a carnival feel. You could buy all your kind of, fair bears, hot dogs and elephant ears and all that kind of stuff, games to play. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. Family event, but that's right there. I think it's worth noting that Lake Washington, while there's so many other amazing things, is a pretty major geographical landmark, I guess. I mean, it really dominates. If you look at a map, like it dominates the landscape. So much so that usually when people are referring to Seattle or Bellevue, which is across the lake, or whatever, they refer to east side or west side. They're talking about the sides of the lake because it literally sandwiches downtown Seattle between the Puget Sound, and then it's the waterfront for all the east side, for Bellevue, Redmond, Kirkland. I guess Redmond.
Totally.
Kirkland, Bellevue.
Something fun. I was impressed by watching the fireworks from that sort of area. I don't know if we're still doing fireworks, but watching it from the lake, you just see across the lake, all the different communities putting off fireworks on July 4th. I was very impressed.
Yep. Well, and it's also worth noting, I mean, the lake's so big, even width-wise, which is its narrowest point, it has the first 2 longest floating bridges in North America.
Yeah, I was just thinking about mentioning that, and also the fact that we're getting public transit across them in the next couple of years. It's so impressive and very needed for the city. So excited for that to come in. Yeah,
so that's pretty awesome. It's a significant feature. I mean, I don't remember how wide it is, but it's 30 miles long. So I mean, it's significant. It's big.
Yeah, it's so fun to drive the bridge. That's one of my favorite things to do. So cool. Let's go to the next one. South Lake Union Gasworks Park. I have a fun thing to share, that if you're ever in town and they're doing these concerts on old ferry boats. Last summer I found that they were doing you could buy a ticket, you get on a ferry boat, and they take you around, and then they play a concert. So
really?
Into Lake Washington. They just started doing this. I'll find the link and we can put it in the notes if there's an event page, but that was my newest thing that I was like, okay, I have so much respect for Lake Washington. It's huge, and it's very fun to be on a boat.
Sure. Sure. No, that's fine. Well, and because Lake Washington, which we're talking about now, is a much smaller lake, but it actually, so essentially, like, you've got the locks, right? The Ballard locks, which come in from the Puget Sound, which then go into Lake Union, which Lake Union's known for seaplanes coming in and out, and for houseboats. So there's a lot of houseboats around it, and it butts up against downtown Seattle, where Amazon has a big footprint and stuff there. But then if you continue going east, you go through a channel into Lake Washington. So so people that boat on Lake Washington or whatever can get into Lake Union, can get into the Sound, go sailing and whatnot. But Lake Union's kind of known for its picturesque view. It has a very unique view of the downtown skyscape, and then Gasworks Park, which is on the north end of Lake Union. Downtown Seattle's on the south end.
Yeah, Gasworks has such a fun history, and I'm not exactly. Do you know what that area is on Gasworks?
It used to be like the oil gasoline refinement center for Seattle.
Interesting.
But I think it was decommissioned in like the 50s.
Okay.
But
the view from that corner is. I could sit there forever. There's so many people when I lived in Wallingford that would just go and take their picnic basket and like sit on the hill and watch the sunset.
Yeah, it's very picturesque, and the old like gas, well, they call it Gasworks for a reason. The old equipment stuff that's still there is pretty cool.
All rusted.
Yep. I think we want to mention the Washington Park Arboretum as well. The Seattle Japanese Garden is gorgeous, especially this time of year in spring. Everything's blooming. But I haven't been for years. Have you been recently?
Yeah, I have. I love going over there and just walking through all the different trails. You can like kind of lead yourself through a whole adventure. And I'm impressed with just how long that park is. There's so many different corners and areas like set out and cared for, and little like plaques that tell you what kind of plants they are. And the Japanese garden is really peaceful and just well done. So definitely worth checking out.
Yeah. Well, and that brings us to number 9, right? Just a couple more to go.
So I went into this sort of, there's like Ballard and then there's Fremont. So we can kind of do like versus, or like which one, just kind of talk about each area. They're similar, but also kind of different. So Fremont to me seems like a little like fresher and newer, and Ballard feels a little older, and there's like cobblestone road and like the Market Street that you can kind of walk down.
Sure.
But Fremont, I wanted to mention just a couple of places that I really love. There's this Fremont Vintage Mall, which is like underground. You kind of have to go under to get there. And they have an amazing place where they have each corner is like a different vintage seller in the city. So you can kind of peruse a bunch of different like feels. So it kind of feels like you're walking through different decades, because one artist will have like more 50s stuff, another one would have like 20s and things like that. So Fremont Vintage Mall, and then Book Larder, which is one of my favorite places in Seattle. It's in Fremont, and
the cookbook place.
Yeah, they have cooking classes, and then they just sell cookbooks in the entire store. And I love to cook, so that was something I really loved when I moved to Seattle.
Yeah, my wife loves that place. As a previous chef and as a dietitian, she just spent hours there, and I'm just like, I'm gonna go have a beer next door.
I could spend days there. Yeah. I'm so glad they made it through the pandemic.
Yeah, well, and it's, like you said, like Ballard has like an older history. It actually has a Scandinavian history, and so back in the 90s, there was a show here called Almost Live. It was kind of like a local version of Saturday Night Live, and they're always making fun of like people in Ballard because it's just a bunch of old Scandinavian people, and so they'd be like, driving down the street 5 miles an hour with like their seatbelt, hanging out their door, or making jokes about lutefisk or whatever. So it's pretty funny. Like you could still find, vintage episodes of Almost Live on YouTube and stuff, and it's, if you're from the area, it's pretty hilarious. I mean, they're always making fun of like Kent and the mullets and which is still a little relevant. So.
It is quite relevant, I would say. I was on the bus yesterday and someone had a full-on mullet, and I was like, "Oh, we are here."
Yeah. Was it an ironic mullet or was it a serious mullet?
It was ironic. Yeah, Ballard has really good restaurants too, good vintage. One of my favorite spots is this floating tea leaves shop. It's just this Taiwanese owned little like tea shop, and you can go in and drink tea with these people. Super funky, fun. Yeah, worth checking out both, but it's hard to choose which one's like.
Well, they're right next door. I mean, they kind of bleed into each other, you know. I mean, Fremont's, you know, definitely a destination for their farmers market. You know, it's pretty big and well known. You've also got the Fremont Troll, you know, under the bridge, so that's pretty popular to go see. And Ballard's come a long ways in the last 30 years from kind of a sleepy, Scandinavian fishing village essentially to kind of hipster central now with like all these bars and restaurants, coffee roasters. So it's a fun place to have a date night or go out.
Yeah, the last thing I wanted to mention was Norm's, and I'm not sure if it's still open, but that blew me away the first time I went there because there's dogs like sitting at the table. It's like a dog restaurant, and I feel like that would only happen in Seattle. That it would be Seattle. A restaurant made for dogs and then their owners.
Yep. That's funny. All right, so that brings us to number 10. Ride.
Yeah, and I think we can kind of squeeze this in with our Olympic National Park conversation.
Well, that's the bonus. That's the bonus.
Yeah. Oh, the bonus.
They go hand in hand.
They do. Riding the ferry. I still get jitters when I ride the ferry. Like, I cannot sit in my car. I have to go stand up on the observation deck and watch. I don't care how cold it is or how hot it is. I will be up there, like, just taking in the views because it's so peaceful and so beautiful. Just moving away from the city, going to Bainbridge, and then even coming back because you just get to like watch the city get bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah,
no, it's pretty amazing. I remember moving here in 1990, and we did all the touristy things, right? And one of them was getting on a ferry and going who knows where. I don't know where we went. Probably out to the Olympic Forest or whatever, at the peninsula. And it was the first time I was on a ferry. Like, I didn't know what a ferry was, because there's no bodies of water big enough you're gonna need a ferry to get across in Iowa,
No.
And so it's pretty unique because most of the country doesn't have ferries as a means of transportation because there's just not a need for it. So it's pretty unique, even if you don't need it for commuting to do day trips or weekend trips out to Bainbridge or out to the Olympic National Park. It's pretty cool. So and there's actually I don't know, I guess you could call it a ferry. There's the Victoria Clipper that leaves from Seattle, and then another ferry that leaves from I don't remember, north end of the Olympic Peninsula that actually goes to Victoria. So it goes across the Strait of Juan de Fuca, from Seattle or from the peninsula, and that's pretty cool. It's a foot ferry, so you can get on that and go across, and it takes a few hours because it's fairly good chunk of water. You get to a place where like you can't see land on both sides, and like there's pods of orcas out there and dolphins and all sorts of cool stuff.
I love that. Yeah, Bainbridge is a nice getaway from the city. Kind of can ground you.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, with the Olympic National Park, we could also like go right into that since we're talking about taking the ferry over there. The Hoh National Rainforest is so beautiful over there, and then getting to go to the actual ocean once you get over to like Ruby Beach and all the different beaches that are all across the West Coast. Yeah, beautiful.
It's gorgeous out there because it's, if I'm not mistaken, if not one of the only actual rainforests in North America, or at least in the US. So it's very wet, but it's also super green and unique, and they're backpacking and Solduck Hot Springs out there. I've been backpacking out there a few times for a few days, and you see like bears and 500-pound mountain goats with their kids and herds of elk, and it's
alive.
It's literally wild. Yeah.
Totally. I really like this one hike out there that you can make essentially a triangle, and then you can actually sleep on the beach. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but I did that last year, and you sort of walk out, walk up the beach, camp on the beach, and then you can walk back to that same spot. But yeah, they have some crazy trails out there that are so fun to hike.
Yeah, for sure. So the Olympics are great. And then on the other side, you've got the Cascade Mountain Range. And there's not, I don't think there's really like any particular spot that tends to be a destination, but there's so much hiking and camping, backpacking, you know, all up and down the Cascade Mountain Range. There's definitely some, you know, destination spots like, you know, Leavenworth, kind of in North Cascades, or a little further north, you've got, what's it called?
Is it Diablo Lake, the big lake?
What's that?
What's the big lake on the north side of the Cascades? Is it Diablo? No.
Yeah, that's kind of, I think, kind of Mount Baker, National Park, North Cascades. Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
I've done camping out there.
There's so much to explore.
There's so much. It's hard to keep track of it all.
Yeah, moving out here from the Midwest, I just can never imagine going back, because I have yet to even scratch the surface of what there is to explore out here. I could spend my whole life and probably not even do all of it, because everything is so green, so alive, and fun and accessible, truly, from Seattle. Like, any way you go, the Olympic National Park is quite far from Seattle, let's be honest. It's like a hour ferry ride, 3 to 4 hour drive. But anything in the Cascades from Seattle, hour and a half, 2 hours,
Sure.
easy.
Yeah, everything's fairly close that you want to do. And like you said, there's so much. I mean, the thing that you know, I mean, obviously a lot of these things are like a lot of the top 10, you know, 11 things that people like to do when they visit, you know, as tourists. But I'm surprised how many people that, you know, live here haven't done half of these things. And I'm like, you have an opportunity. Don't wait till like they go away or until you move away to like regret that you never did these things. Like, they're pretty amazing, pretty unique. So
it's such a reason to move here. I feel like it really is a solid list of things to keep you occupied.
Yeah, for sure. So, well, Haley, I appreciate you joining me today. I think having you on made this conversation a little more interesting. Obviously, you know, if you guys are watching this and you're looking to, you know, visit or looking to move out here, we'd love to help you. We'd love to connect. And if you found this video helpful, you know, give it a thumbs up, recommend it to your friends, leave a comment. So we will catch you on the next video.